Good evening, everyone. This is Henry Gambell with SimplerOptions.com, and in tonight's free video I would like to spend some time looking at Chipotle. So Chipotle, one of the main reasons, and anytime you begin discussing a setup you want to know, okay, what's the core reason for why you're looking at it. And in this situation, I like the prospects of Chipotle moving higher because we're sitting right up against this daily squeeze. The other thing that I like in this is that we continue to hold this zone between the 8 and 21 about as perfectly as we could ask for, and that continues to argue in favor of the bullish trend. Another thing that I like doing, more so here in Thinkorswim, but is referencing the idea that generally when I'm pulling these charts, I'm looking at 5 years worth of daily data. But in this case, I wanted to show you how if you drop down and instead of using 5 years worth, come back to 1 year, and now we can see that this high bubble now populates against the 497.48 where it didn't before. What that means is now that we have shortened the amount of data that we're looking back through, now this is the current high for this amount of data. So while it wasn't the new high for the 5 years looking back, it is a new 52-week high, and the whole concept is trying to pick up markets that are near 52-week highs on their pullbacks and looking for a push to new highs. So in the chat room we've been getting positioned a couple of different ways, and no different than the Facebook discussion that I had with you last Friday, this is all about the expiration that you choose. So for a strategy like this, I think this is fairly simple and looks for a pin up at 500. You know, it's nice to already have been positioned for this. For those that we added on today, we tacked on a put credit spread when we got a little bit of weakness at the beginning of the day, and then also began looking at some calls. So I like all of these ideas, and then I've got some other exposure that I'm going to try to flip on strength that are a bit more aggressive, and I think these are great ways to stagger your exposure depending on what you're looking for a given expiration. Now how can you look at this if you have nothing in Chipotle and you're getting started with some analysis into tomorrow? Well, I think it's worth taking the time to discuss psychological values like 500 when you get up into a monthly expiration and have the potential to pin. Now, when you look at this, I can't really make an argument for the pin exactly because the open interest on the call side is nowhere equal even remotely to the put side. So just based off the open interest, what I would argue here is that the $500 calls actually have the opportunity to expire worthless. So if this does gap up tomorrow and you're flat, how do you take advantage? Or I should say this two ways. If it gaps down tomorrow, that's where you have the opportunity to buy it directionally and look for the trade up into 500. However, if it gaps up to begin the day, what I would have you look at is something like the 490 500 vertical. So we'll buy a deep and wide 1 month 4-strike vertical, and you can see how even right now the spread trading at $5.10, say we just got filled at the mid. What does that mean? Well, that means if price did absolutely nothing else at these exact prices, we would make 20 cents in relationship to that closing price. Now, of course, if you gap up tomorrow and maybe it's trading a bit more expensive, I want you to see the edge that you have in buying this anywhere close to $5 or $5.50, because what is the break-even price here? If you bought it right here, your break-even price is going to be $495.10. So if this were to move up into 500, that's where you stand to make $4.90. If it just moves up maybe $2.50, well then you stand to make that $2.50. So I think this will be an attractive vertical because the whole concept is buying the intrinsic value while you sell the extrinsic value in a vertical, and then you look for that spread to come in for you by Friday. So that's one idea that I will be entertaining as we get into tomorrow. Obviously I've already got some skin in the game and you know what I'm looking for in relationship to that, and hopefully that gives you some ideas as we head into monthly expiration. So you guys have a great night, and I will see you at the next free video.